Welcome, everyone, to Trekking Across the Universe. It is, in most places that people are watching this, it is Saturday in the U.S. on the East Coast where I am. It is 3 p.m. and it's noon on the West Coast. And in Jag's time, it is 2 p.m. He always gets mad if I don't mention that for some reason. But I'd like to welcome my co-hosts first. Marcia, how are you doing this evening?
I am fabulous. I am fabulous today. I am looking forward to an incredible live chat. So welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Jag, how are you doing?
I'm beyond happy. We got Reece Ritchie. What can I tell
That's
you?
true. We do.
Reece Ritchie.
And I would like to introduce our guest because this one I can actually pronounce, and I'm so glad. I'd like to welcome Reece Ritchie. We are so glad to have you on our little podcast here. We were trying to get you the first season, but I know you were busy. That's what the agent told me. So I just went, oh well, we'll try him again this year, and it worked.
Well,
we are so
we made it work, and
we made it work, and we are so happy. We are so happy now. I think I'm just going to go right ahead to the questions because we've already got some people in the chat room. Here's one. Welcome from the Alcoholics. That's one of the Facebook group names that certain people in this chat made up. We won't tell who it is. I know that your brother has acted on the Outpost in the past, and your sister is a singer. Would either of them be interested in playing a guest role on the Ark?
If only it was that easy, you know. If only my power extended that far. My power extends about as far as the fridge. And even then, actually, I don't really have much jurisdiction there either, to be honest. Actually, this room is probably about as far as my power extends. So, unfortunately, I don't have the decision-making power to make that happen. But I've Ross, my brother, being in the Outpost with me, playing Zed's brother, was a gift and an experience that I'll never forget. So, yeah, hats off to the creatives for having an open mind with him.
Was that his first venture, or had he done some stuff?
It was. Kynan Griffin, our producer on the Outpost, approached me. I think we were on like episode 3, episode 4. And if I remember rightly, Ross came in as Corvin towards, I think it was episode 11, when Zed finds out his brother is around. And Kynan approached me and asked, first he said, he has this deep South African accent. He says, so Zed gets a brother later in the season, and I said, okay. And he says, and you have a brother, right? And my eyes just lit up because I thought, man, if he's even considering this, wow, I'm going to do everything in my power to
make it happen.
And I know my brother, like I would never have put it his way if I didn't think he was capable of it. He's been acting in the house for a long time. He's just never done it in front of a camera before. And once I realized Kynan and the team were up for it, I said to him, you got to audition like everybody else. And he did. I mean, Kynan literally just said, right, here's the casting director, get himself to put himself on tape. And he did. And he did a great job. I was kind of hard on him. I was like, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And, we did a couple of passes, but he sent it off to the casting director and he got the part.
Well, that is cool. Let me go a couple more. These are just highs and welcome back and art group in the thing. Here we go.
Hi, art group.
And a special welcome from Elizabeth Bowman from Maryland. I don't know where she lives in Maryland. She's probably very near to me, but I don't know if she's someone in the chat room that's been there for a while. I don't know who she is, but anyway, that's a whole different story. So this is his first time with us. Yes. He has been on our network before, but he probably doesn't realize that. But this is his first time on our show. Yeah, you got it. Huh?
Now.
Yeah. And Nathan says he makes a lot of gifts. I don't know if you've seen them online. He makes a lot of gifts for the Ark. And
I'm sure I have. Yeah, there's our whole fan base are amazing with all of that.
Yeah,
some really good stuff popping up.
Yeah,
I've seen some Ian Lane stuff. It's been kind of cool.
He actually he said last night that he just made one up for Ian and you. So I don't know if it's come out yet, but anyway.
We'll get it checked out.
Get it checked out. Yeah, he's in Perth, Australia. So he's up at 3 a.m. to listen to you.
Yeah, that's a true fan.
That is a true fan. Speaking of true fans, let's go a little differently than I normally. Let's go to Jag. Jag. Yeah, you're going, woo! He doesn't.
Well, first of all, Mr. Ritchie, I'm going to call you Mr. Reach, but then I'm going to call you Reach. First of all, thank you. Welcome. And I guess my first question is, so we've obviously seen how we've upped the ante in season 2 for the arc. But I'm curious, as an actor, your challenges in season 1 for portraying your character, and then what were the challenges and how different were they for season 2, if at all?
Great question. I mean, the main challenges in season 1 were new show. I think what the general public who aren't in the industry don't often realize is like there's something called pitch when you do anything. Everybody has to be pitched at the same height with regards to how much humor do you put in the show. How seriously are we taking ourselves? What are the tropes? What are the conventions? What are the things we have to honor in the sci-fi genre that people are going to be annoyed at if we ignore or don't? So there's a lot of challenges when you're first doing something that's an original series. Everybody has to kind of be on the same book, and you never have a meeting where everybody sits down and goes, "Okay, this is exactly how we're going to play it," and so. I wouldn't say it was a difficult thing, but it's certainly something that you have to be aware of when you're doing season 1 of a show.
Mm-hmm.
The other practical thing is that you're meeting new people, you're working with new directors, you're in a new country, you're away from your family for 4.5 months. You have to get acquainted with where the local store is and where do you go to eat, and if you're working a 14 or a 15-hour day, what's the best takeaway to be there when you get back? I mean, these sound like silly things, but you need to live as well. You need to practically exist happily, really, ideally, in another country. And then I kind of got a good sense of what they needed for Lane. So ironically, that part wasn't, because you get the chance to discover that over 12 episodes. I didn't have to build Rome in a day, as it were. Season 2 is a whole different beast. Specifically for me, I think in this instance is that I had to play. I've just got to check myself before I give any spoilers, but I think I'm safe. I had to play 3 characters.
Yes.
Lane, alternate Lane, and Ian.
Mm-hmm.
On a purely fundamental basis, sleep was an issue because we're shooting. I think this season actually we shot 1 episode at a time sequentially, which was a gift. If we were doing 2 episode blocks like season 1, I think I would have just internally combusted, to be honest. Those scenes where you have the 2-handers between Lane and Ian, acting wise is difficult, but technically it's just a complete and utter crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're walking into an empty grey room. It's just you and a few there's the whole crew, but in the small rooms is just you and a few camera guys. And you're paid to be a schizophrenic for 4 hours. You're talking to yourself, and then you go and change, and you put on a different accent, and then you talk to yourself again.
Yeah.
And then you hope by the end of the day that it's going to cut together, and that people are going to buy that there's 2 people in that room. And I had to decide on what my reaction would be before I'd shot the other character, because you can't shoot both of them first, obviously. So I had to make choices for the other character before I'd had a chance to read the lines and be in the room and be in the space. As an actor, you take it for granted that you do the line run with the director, you just read the lines, then you might block it, and then you might do the first rehearsal, and then you might shoot a rehearsal, and then you might shoot one. And that's a master, that's a wide, and you're going closer, and then you get to the close up. And by that time, you might have had like 15, 20, 25 runs of this. And then you can kind of nail down the details and what your choices are. Well, if I'm playing the reaction to something, I haven't had that chance with Lane or Ian to put the tent poles down and decide exactly how it's going to go in the space. Because it's always different when you get on set. So that was tough. I had to think for 2 characters and make choices and then react to them before I'd seen them. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And things that would shock the other character, where the other character would cut the other one off. The timing of everything had to be perfect, otherwise it wouldn't have cut together. And I'm quite happy with how it has cut together. I think we might have got away with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it must have been just a challenge in general, just to be playing the two parts and keeping up with what each one is saying, as they're going back and forth. But now it leads me to this question: in terms of Lane and Ian, what or who did you base those characters on, or they're their own invention?
I didn't really base Lane on anybody. I think this goes back to your last question as well about the challenges.
Yeah.
You're creating a show as a whole, right? Not a character per se. So I think the longer you're around, like when you're a young actor and you're in something, you're like, why did they cut that scene? I thought that scene went well, and you see it in the cinema and you're like, well, where did that scene go? And you learn very quickly that actually it's about serving the story. If the scene might have been great, you might have been great in it, but the scene didn't help tell the story. I did a film years ago. There was a friend of mine who will remain unnamed. It was a kind of a movie that we anticipated might be quite well known, and he got mostly cut from the film because the creatives basically said, we had to reduce the running time of the movie,
right.
And this character was the one that kind of and that was the way it was. So you learn quite quickly that it's about serving the entirety. So with Lane, I think I knew the function of his character and what they needed from me. They needed conflict for Garnet. They needed friction. And I think he represented the kind of the descent in the ranks of the three lieutenants more so than they're kind of three parts of one person, really. Garnet, Bryce, and Lane.
Right.
Bryce is kind of the brawn and the quips and the fun. I guess Lane is the heady side of the operation, and I think Garnet has to be the heart.
Yeah. No, good job. I'm going to take it back to Michael for any more questions, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, let me do a couple more questions. 2 questions in the chat room, and then I'm going to go to Marcia. This is one that was before. Arc54 asks, what made you and your brother decide to flip houses for a living? How did you get started flipping houses?
There's me thinking I acted for a living.
Well, that's what they think, but I'm sure you do. But
Yeah.
this is their conception.
Sure, no problem at all. My brother doesn't flip houses for a living. I got involved in property as the thing is with acting is, I've been very fortunate, and I've managed to work in this industry for a while. But you might go and do a film, and then you come back, and then you don't know what you need. Nobody's got a crystal ball. I think even the most successful actors will tell you this. There's no kind of crystal ball or way of predicting what's going to happen and when. So I think the property thing for me was just a way to sort of shore up the future, just in case, really, just just as a hedge.
Yeah.
That was it, really. And also I enjoy it. It's kind of creative in its own way. And I enjoy it, and I've got children now, so I have to think about that as well.
Yeah, it keeps you busy and keeps some income coming all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
That is very important. Okay, Susie asks, do you think your role as Spencer is much different than your role as Zed, personality-wise?
It's a good question. I think that it's no accident that I was kind of approached for Lane. Of course, I had to audition for Lane, but I had just spent 3 years working with, Dean, essentially, the Outpost. And I think that, there were inevitably going to be similarities between Zed and Lane. Because much in the way that Lane is brought in to sort of antagonize in a way. I'm oversimplifying it, but he is a bit of an antagonist in the beginning. Lane was sent in to disrupt as well, with Talon. But what's fun is that they give me this opportunity to sort of redeem the characters, which hopefully we did. I actually really ended up liking Zed quite a lot. He was essentially the bad guy quite early on. You know, people
Yes.
were like, "Boo-hoo, Zed."
Yes.
I just remember quite enjoying it because I knew what they were intending to do with him. And by the end, we had Zed heads. You know, there were a lot of people calling themselves Zed heads. And then in another way with Lane, we got to kind of redeem him. I think he still had his hang-ups, Lane. I think he was a bit stiff at times. But then Ian just suddenly gave me this wide open goal to just flip it all on its head, you know?
Yeah, and this is kind of similar. Scott Williams says, this is a great show. I have to admit, seeing Spencer pass away didn't go well with me.
Good to hear, Scott.
And I think a lot of people thought that. I mean,
it wouldn't be great if everyone was saying hooray, you know.
Yeah. Maybe in season 1.
Yeah.
Season 1 they might have.
They may have liked it.
Maybe.
But not season 2.
Yeah.
Okay, Marcia.
Yes, thank you. Well, that leads right into my first question for you is when, if you can tell us, when did you know that Lane was going to bite the dust? Did they in some shows they give the character that's doing it a heads up before kind of the rest of the cast knows? Or
yeah, so we had, sorry, Marsha, were you finished?
No, yeah, please, yes.
We had the writers' strike prior to all of this, and we were sent home, I think, twice. I think it was quite a rocky. I mean, the whole season took us 9 months from start to finish, and because of the breaks we had in between. And I remember, I think it was after we got sent back, maybe around episode 5, episode 4. Jonathan said that something big is coming.
Big.
And I was like, okay, yeah. I don't think he could hold on to the secret much longer. So something big is coming, and then it kind of went quiet again. I was reading episode 6. I was like, okay, nothing crazy. And then he emailed me and asked about regional accents in England. And he kind of he said, what regional accents can you do? I was like, this is odd because, you know, you start to go, well, okay, Lane goes to an accent changer. No, it doesn't really sound like a real good plot twist. So then
Reece he has a breakdown, you know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that happens. People wake up with different accents.
Yeah.
So then that kind of began, and then I found myself he sent me some sides, and I was recording sides for him while he was in LA with these different accents. But that was Pandora's box, because in England, as you may or may not know, we have a lot of very strong, very different regional accents.
Yes.
And I hate to generalize, but not all of them are very intelligible for the American ear. That's, you know.
Yeah, I've watched British stuff. I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even for us, a lot of our regional accents, you have to really be on the button to understand everything that's being said. So he got an array of different accents. And in the end, we sort of played a bit safe, I think. I mean, if it was up to me, I might have taken him a bit further. Because obviously, selfishly as an actor, I'm trying to make him as different to Lane as I possibly can. But then Jonathan raised the great point that Bryce already has a strong Scottish accent, and if Bryce and Ian end up in a room together, we just need to make sure that the
captions.
So that was a fair point. But I was really happy with what we settled on in the end. Did I answer your question? Sorry, you have to forgive me if I.
No.
Can you remind me of the question? Sorry.
When did you know that Lane was going to bite the dust?
Yeah, I went on a big detour there. So then sending these accents back, and then it probably around not very long before, around about episode 6 or 7, I think. We got the following episode when we meet Ian. Then I was like, okay, now there's 2 of them, and I was like, huh. And obviously, purely on a practical basis, I mean, I'm contracted to play one character in that show, and whatever way you look at it, it's twice the work. It's an enormous demand because you have to change makeup hair, costume, everything has to be changed, maybe 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
You have to learn twice as many lines. Like it's you know, it's chalk and cheese how different it is from a working experience. It's relentless. So as soon as I realized I was playing 2 characters, I was kind of like, hey guys, you know, how long is this for? Because I need to make sure I can stand up at the end of this show. And they said, it's only for a few episodes. So then I kind of deduced that perhaps we're going to lose one of them. I thought it might have been Ian. I thought Ian.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah.
And then I think they didn't. I don't know. They didn't tell me. I think I probably got one of the classic texts from Christy or somebody going, "Oh my God, have you read episode 9?" You know, when the emails come through, one of us reads it first, and it tells the others. And yeah, I was probably sat in my apartment in Serbia when I read that. Kind of bittersweet as well, because you know, I've got a thing outside my door, my dressing room door, that says Lane on it, Lieutenant Spencer Lane. And yeah, that last day when the costume is covered in blood and you take it off and you hang it up and you go, okay, he's gone, you know.
And Christy, we met with Christy yesterday, and she told us that you did your last scene in one take, with the fight and all that, and she was
I pay
amazing.
her very well to say those things.
That explains it. Yes.
She
Very
was
well
amazed.
Yeah. I found out she was going to be on before me and said, just say these things.
Well, she did very well, but yeah, she was amazed.
Yeah, we only had that she's talking about. We had the tubes. I don't want to
Yeah.
give it to everybody,
With
but
the
anyway,
blood.
we had the tubes with
The blood tubes, yeah.
And yeah, the camera, the director, I think, was really nervous about how we were going to do it, because we only had one shot at it, I think, because we didn't have time to go back, wipe all the blood off, get the new costume, because all of the slits that had been made for continuity had to line up with the it was just an absolute nightmare to do. It would have been like 45 minutes to an hour to reset, and we just didn't have time. So in true Wild West fashion, I just looked at Igor, our director of photography, and said, we can do this. He's like, yeah, you sure? I said, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to walk there, stand there, turn, look at Garnet, look down. I said, when I look down, Tomo's on B-Cam, and me and him have been working together for 5 years on the Outpost and stuff. So we don't even have to talk to each other anymore. He knows what I'm going to do. So I said, so I look down, he pans off my cue. But the trick was, because what we didn't want to happen is for them to pan, to wait, no blood, because they're pushing the button, it's not working. Then the blood comes out, the shot's ruined. You need Lane, Lane looks down, pans down, blood. That's what you need. So I said, Tomo, I'm going to look at Garnet for as long as it takes, because I knew they could cut into that. And then as soon as I feel the first tiny bit of cold blood, I'll look down. And so I did. I turned and looked at Garnet, because I knew they could cut back to her if they needed to at that point. And we didn't need to. I think she says Lane, and I look at her and kind of look down. I felt the blood, looked down, and it worked. And then I fall out of frame. And so, yeah, we managed to get it in one take. But if we didn't, we would have been in a whole lot of problems, because I think it was, we had no time. I mean, you've never got time in this business, but we had.
And then your last word was Sharon. That got me. I was just tears. It was beautiful. Thank you. I'll go back to Michael.
That was his last word, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
You guys, you get me emotional now thinking about Lane.
We made Christy cry yesterday.
We had Christy crying. So
it was beautiful. It was.
How did you manage that?
What did we do?
So I asked, because we were talking about how that particular scene had changed Garnet going forward.
And she lost it.
So, and my question to her was, okay, we know that changed Garnet going forward based on, you said, did it change you as an actress going forward? And that just, and I've done it twice where I've made her cry.
That's the second time you've done that to her.
So I probably won't be on these podcasts.
I really honestly have to give Christy props, because I was really amazed by in the scene where she learns that Lane is actually dead.
Yeah.
you know, it's very easy because we have such a tight time constraint to just hit your mark and say the line because, you know, and also in all fairness, the camera team often want that because they, to be fair to them, they need to make the day too. So if actors start walking around saying, I think I'd go over there and then I'd go over here and then I'd scratch my head and then I'd pick this up off the floor. I mean, it's just a nightmare because you have to light everything and you have to cover everything and it's a nightmare. But on that particular day in that scene, I think we had earned, or Christy had earned the right to kind of just, I think she turned to the camera guys and said, look, you guys are going to have to follow me. I'm going to do what I do. And you guys, and I really respect her for that because, she knew that the emotional weight of that scene had to be free. It couldn't be choreographed or staged. And she just was so brave. She just let go in that scene. And I think she's amazing in that scene, you know. Her reaction to Lane's death, what it means to her, what it means to Garnet. She was just great that day. And I think it really came across on camera. You know,
Yes.
the leap she took.
Yes.
And they did. They just handheld. They just followed her.
Wow.
And they cut into it. And it really worked really, really nicely. You know?
Yeah, it was an organic scene. It was just pure organic scene. It wasn't technical. It wasn't choreographed. It was just the true brazen feeling of vulnerability and sadness. Yeah.
I can't believe they made me wear that hairnet though.
Oh, I thought that was funny. And then she says that you had to ask for a towel because all the tears were falling on your face. Is that true?
Oh, I don't know how true that is. It's possible. I remember because they're doing this
Remember, he was
shot.
dead. You know, he couldn't.
You know,
he couldn't
you know the
really
one thing
remember
the one thing I really don't like in movies is when someone's dead and you see them breathe.
Yeah.
Like, that annoys the hell out of me, right? Because I'm like, come on, man, you had like 10 seconds, hold your breath, right? So I was determined not to be breathing in this scene. And she comes over and then she's taking her time and she grabs my hand and she touches my head and I'm like, oh, I'm turning blue. Like she's milking this woman's breath because I'm dying here. I literally cannot breathe, right? And but I was determined. I was like, either I'm going to die, but you're not going to see me on. You're not going to see me. And then she comes over, and then she shed a tear over, and I'm already concentrating on not blinking, not moving, and everything. And this tear just goes bang and just hits me in the head. Thanks, Christy. No, she was great. She was amazing.
And good job on you because I was looking at your eyelids when they did that close up of the eye. I was waiting to see.
I think I only saw the episode yesterday. I'm like,
good job. But yeah, the hairnet was pretty cool. Oh man, that was
on that note, this was a comment from a while ago, and they went, "Oh, come on, Reece, who needs sleep?" But here's another one, which I've totally forgotten about. I thought the chessboard was appropriate for the Remember Earth box, as the way you described filming your scene between Ian and Lane was sort of a
mental. I think mental.
Mental chess. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't. I think I spoke about this recently. That wasn't so much an accident. The chessboard. I think that Lane is trying to outmaneuver a lot of stuff in his own head, and then Ian comes along and I like the way that I made the choice that Ian is playing with Lane's chess pieces at the top of that scene about the barcode on them, and because I felt it was quite intrusive of Ian, but Ian doesn't see that. You know, he just sees some things on the board or whatever, and I felt like that was cool because he's reaching into the mind of Lane there with the. You know, you can go as deep with all this stuff as you like, but I thought this is the stuff we think about as actors, you know, is that I wanted to use that. That was a bit of me getting involved there, trying to use the chessboard as a kind of a bit of a motif between the two characters to show control and power dynamic. And I like chess. So something to do between takes.
Cool. And I'd like to say likes we've gotten on Facebook from Bob Bitt, Joseph Kirk, Elizabeth Bowman, and Elizabeth Olivia Cooper. Thank you very much for the likes. And let's go on to this. It's kind of a statement, and it says a lot, especially if they're a Star Trek fan. So far, I think this show is as good as Star Trek. On a different level, of course, but just as good.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Okay, here we go. Those one sheets behind you, are those movies that you were in? You told us off air, but let's go ahead and.
Yeah. So what side? So this
10,000
one,
BC.
10,000 BC was my first job. This is my first ever job, first ever film, Prince of Persia, and then I have The Lovely Bones and Hercules. This is kind of my movie room, so I can probably show you. We have Hercules.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So just a few posters. I couldn't. I said to my fiance, I was like, "Do I put these up? Is that garish?" And she's like, "No, put them up on the wall."
Oh no, that's much better than a blank wall. It really is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I mean, and then you get a question like that. What are those?
Yeah, precisely. But no, this is kind of this is my kind of movie room really, where I come to catch up on films that I haven't seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Here's one more. I'm trying.
You're good actors.
You good actors, mate. I guess I know where they might be from.
Thanks, David James.
And Nathan, our friend from Australia, says, "I'm still shocked from Lane's death, but it made sense. Lane or Ian had to go. Sleep is apparently important."
Anyone who says it's not has never had children.
Oh, that's true. Very true. We just go.
Let's go ahead to Marsha.
Yes, Bryce and Lane, you had a very poignant scene, which turned out to be your last scene together, when you sort of reconcile your differences. How did you work that out and talk about how that scene would play? It was extremely poignant.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you remove the comment box so I can see Marsha's face?
Sorry.
I
guys.
got this weird message, and I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem. Sorry, it's me being pedantic. I don't want to talk to you at the top of your head, Marsha. Yes, I mean, Richard and I had this discussion. It's really hard. Thank you so much, by the way.
No problem,
Michael. It's really hard because you don't want to foreshadow what's going to come. So the more kind of you lean into this whole thing of like pats on the back and, all this kind of thing, and you really make it a big deal, you're kind of subconsciously foreshadowing to the audience that something's about to happen to Lane. Obviously, Bryce doesn't know that, and Lane certainly doesn't know that he's about to die, and it's going to be their last encounter. I mean, if they did know, I think they would have opened that bottle of Glenveagh, I think, and probably finished it together. But so yeah, it's tough because you're walking this tightrope between honouring their last moment, but also I always feel like Bryce and Lane is kind of a bittersweet thing because it never really. I mean, they had moments, but there was so much going on the ship that bromance could never really be kind of explored fully. I feel like they could have, under different circumstances, gotten on really well. And then of course we have the whole thing with them two falling out as well, which was kind of tough. We didn't like reading that because Richard and I are such close friends that on the way back we're in the car and we're reading those scripts. We're like, no, we don't want to. Like, what do you mean? I punched Bryce in the face, we had to find our way. I mean, it's no lie that it's no secret that obviously every actor on every show has their own. When you've been playing a character for a long time, you have your own opinions about certain things, and sometimes you need to get out of your own way and listen to the creatives, and sometimes you actually do have a point on certain things. And I think initially it was scripted that Lane attacked him in his seat and wailed into him and punched him in the arm. And it just read to me a little bit too much. It felt like a vicious attack rather than an expression of frustration. So I think, if I remember rightly, in the final cut, Richard stands and we square off, and it's one punch to the face, and then I go for him and I get pulled back.
Yes.
And And yeah, those subtle differences mean a lot sometimes, I think, with character, because audiences are smart. People pick up on stuff, they form opinions, So yeah, to answer your question, Marsha, with Richard, we knew that we couldn't foreshadow what was about to happen too much. So I kind of like that it's understated. I think he says, we're going to be okay, Spence, and Lane says we will be. I thought it was a bit unkind of Lane in that instance. He probably could have given him a bit more line there.
Well, actually rewatching it, I felt a little differently about that scene, because at first I thought, okay, well, we'll see later on that they're going to be pals again. Yeah. And now that I knew that wasn't going to happen, when I watch it again, it really. Yeah. So you did a fabulous job. I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Richard's great. We love Richard.
Yeah.
Richard's great
guy.
But I will say, when you and Sharon were sharing a bottle in your room.
My quarters, I can't remember. I don't remember.
In an earlier episode, we don't see what kind of happens after that. So my fangirl heart may think, oh, well, maybe something, might have transpired. No spoilers or anything, but I can dream in my head a little bit.
Oh, you know what? Ideally, yeah. You guys haven't seen episode 10 yet, have you?
No.
That's coming up.
No, so
I have to tread very carefully here.
Yeah, please don't do any spoilers. I'll get in trouble.
So it's interesting how do you say goodbye to a character while you're still on the show?
I guess with Ian was such an opportunity for me to break the mold and also kind of shake everybody up a little bit, because I'm in these conference scenes with them all, and they're so used to me being Lane, and suddenly Ian's like interrupting, he's eating, he's brash, he's sitting differently, he's in a different chair, he doesn't care about things that usually they would cut to me for a reaction on, like Lane would be kind of like, but Ian's just there thinking about what he's going to have for dinner. So yeah, saying goodbye to Lane, I think, was made a lot easier by having Ian to play, because we kind of reached the end of Lane, really, in terms of what his function was on the show, and I think it was really smart what they did. I think what's going to be interesting for all of you watching now is what happens with Garnet with regards to how she deals with the passing of Lane, because if you think of that on a technical basis, purely technically alone, from a script writing standpoint, when you've got all of your lead characters mourning one of their closest kind of companions, it kind of messes up the rest of the season.
Right.
None of your characters can laugh. You've suddenly painted yourself into a bit of a corner, and you've got to go around everybody and explain why they feel a certain way and stuff. So what they've got in store for you in episode 10 is genius.
All right.
You are not going to see it coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we've heard.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me go this. We got a question. They tried to post it and they couldn't. From JP Paulus. A couple of cast members have talked about how outside of filming, assuming this is in Serbia, you'd like to go with people into the country. What are some things that you find interesting about living in Serbia, and how does it compare to back home?
I think your relationship with the place changes so much over 5 years, because I've been there for 5 years.
You've been there a long time, yeah.
Yeah. And the people, I mean, our wonderful cast and our wonderful crew and cast, like Tiana, Pavle, like all our local hire, they've just welcomed us in. I mean, we've been for traditional Serbian lunches, and we went to the kafanas and stuff with Igor, our director of photography. So I guess what's really nice, the similarities would be that familial feel, family and friendship that I have at home, because I've been there for so long. I've managed to get a sense of family over there, which is really nice. Like Ahmed, our focus puller, he started off kind of like a focus puller, and now he's got a partner and had a baby, and I feel like I've gone through that with him, and also for me, like I've had children, and while Ahmed has known me, and it's you sort of share those experiences together, so it transcends work, which is really nice. The differences, I mean, just being away is different. Obviously, you can't just pop around your mum or dad's or your friends, and the music's very different. There's so many differences in culture as well, but that's part of the fun of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jag?
So I have a couple of comments and a question. So I just really appreciated when you said that you basically helped the crew and everybody else on how to deal with the death of Lane with the blood and everything and the cue. That just to me just looks, it just gives me a sense of a professional actor that's just a team worker. That it's just, wants everybody to do everything on their best so we can get the shot, so that we don't spend. So that just speaks highly. Christy has heralded you as like a national treasure or global treasure. So you might want to send another check, I guess. But she says you're an incredible actor to be, to work with. And I can just see, based on what you've discussed and the little nuggets of info you've given us, that it's true. And not that we doubted Christy, because I can see just the way you have worked and make sure that everybody's job is easier by doing yours the way you do. So I just wanted to do that comment.
Well, I very much appreciate it. It's, I think it is a team sport, filmmaking, and
it is.
At least it should be. And when someone's not playing, by team rules, it stands out. And luckily it hasn't happened very often in my career that I've come across someone like that. I mean, very, 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 very seldom. But I think it is a team sport, and I think that you need to, everybody wants to get home and get to bed. We want to do the best work we can, but we've got to do it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So people need, and also if you're rushing at the end of the day, like if someone indulges something in the morning too much and doesn't serve the show, by the time you get to the last scene, you shoot yourself in the foot, because you've not got the time to cover the last scene now. So you've got to get something in one take without any rehearsal. And then the worst feeling as an actor is to be in the car on the way home going, and it always comes to you on the way back. You're like, that's not what was meant by that line. Like, how did I miss it? Because you didn't have time on set to discover it with the other actors, Like, you get a read in your hotel room and you miss something, and then you shoot it because you're in a rush. So I think I really appreciate what you said. Thank you so much. But I do think that it's a team sport,
And it comes across. And it comes across on screen. And I think the level, I was saying it to Christy last night, I guess there was a master class somewhere that you all just brought it up to, from production to acting to visual effects to everything, writing, where there's just a difference. Like I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, I grew up with the Ark, but now, it's like the Ark grew up without me, because it's a completely different look, a completely different feel. It has matured. It's just become such a worthy show that it wasn't before. It was, but now it's even more, because it's like the first time was, we're the new kids on the block. We're doing this show, trying to identify the characters. And then now it's like, we're kicking ass. Because
that's cool. And I think what's great about Dean and Jonathan as well is that they've actually openly said this, and they watch the rushes, and the scripts evolve with us too. So it's kind of a symbiotic two-way relationship where they'll write us something, we'll kind of do something with it, and then they'll get it back and they'll go, oh, what was that look? Let's write this, and they'll see a dynamic that they didn't plan for. And I think that's really helped season 2, because they've trusted us. We've sort of built relationships with them where we can send an email saying, look, ignore me if you like, but it doesn't happen very often, but they are quite receptive and open, which I think has really helped the show as well.
Yeah, it does. And then my real question now is, so we know that Lane, he wasn't really an evil character, but as one of the writers call him, Lieutenant Poopy Pants.
Something to say, Michael? Something to say?
No, I just
But So he was obviously not a villain, but he was just an unlikable character, right? And then of course we're all adoring Ian, right? He's just real quick on the side. Was that you, or was that in the script of Ian eating at the table of the ready room?
That was me.
That was you.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. You know,
Yeah, because I think was it Mr. DeLorean, right? Did I get that wrong?
Yes.
No, that's right. He's on tomorrow with us. Yeah.
What a great guy. I think he brought that up in one of the interviews, and I'd forgotten, but it was. I just thought, this guy's he's been stranded on this planet. Like, he wouldn't have eaten. He must be hungry, and also I didn't want to sit down and just look like Lane in a different costume. I wanted an excuse to show that his physicality and his manner is different. And I think by eating, it shows he's hungry. It gives me an opportunity to display his physicality before the audience make their mind up about him being just Lane with a different, costume on. And it also shows that he's not that bothered about what the grown-ups are talking about, which Lane always was. So it kind of served. It had a three-pronged attack, really. It kind of served the purpose, and they went with it. So the poor props guy, he was like Lasso, his name is. He's the loveliest man. He's like, I try not to do this to him, but occasionally you think of something when you're just walking onto set. And I turned to him, I said, Lazo, I said, have you got something I can eat? And you just see like everything organised with this thing. And he's like, it's always in the container on the other side of the studio, and he has to go get it, Like, yeah, okay. And he's never ever said no to me. Like, he's the best.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he comes back sweating and breathing, with these biscuits.
Thank you, Lasso, for your contribution to that, because that was
and the book. The book
too.
Oh my God! Like, there's the amount of times, because he would come up to me and say, Lane, Ian, Reece Lane. And he says, are you Lane? Are you Ian? I said, I'm Ian. Like, okay. And then you see him thinking. I said, I need the book. He's like, oh, the book. He's like, right, get the book. So it's just a continuity nightmare, because people are used to seeing you as a character, and they go, okay, in the next scene he's this, but then you switched characters, so it's just never ending.
Well, to my question, so most actors love the juicy evil, or the contentious person as an actor, but then we have Ian, who is the opposite and just happy-go-lucky. So, in your question is, who do you enjoy playing more, an evil guy or the happy guy?
Enjoy is such a broad word, but I'm going to say Ian, because I think that you're the most creative when you're having fun. And it's not that I don't have fun playing Lane, but I think the nature of the way he's written is that he's serving a function, whereas Ian is closer to the kind of the border, if you like. He's more able to kind of, he can get away with stuff, and if he can get away with stuff, it means I can get away with certain things as an actor as well. And I know that Jonathan is not going to call me up and say, why did you say this instead of this? Because Ian would. Whereas Lane is military, he had to be kind of by the book, and stiff in a lot of ways. So I'm gonna. It's a very. I could spend a long time on that answer, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna say Ian. I think at the moment I'm having a lot of fun playing Ian.
Yeah, and it shows. Okay, right back to you, Michael.
Okay. Let's go to a couple of the other questions. This is JP again. Speaking of the films behind you, and this, which top 2 or 3 should we watch with you in it after you are finished with this chat?
The impossible question. Asking me to rank my own work for you.
Welcome to our podcast.
Well, I'm going to switch the question up slightly and say that there have been certain films that I've been in that I'm really proud of. Well, there are many that I'm proud to have been in, but there are some that are more kind of note for me as the experience of making them. And I think The Lovely Bones was one of them. It was a really special, unique experience. Just an incredible experience, unlike any other I've had on any film or TV show. I think the subject matter was quite specific and quite unique. I don't really know of another film like it. To have Peter Jackson and to be in America with him, and the cast we had was incredible. And then the part I got to play, he was just a completely pure character. I've never really played a character like that before or since. That is just, he was just one thing, but in a good way, if that makes sense. He just idolized Susie Salmon, and I'm really proud of that film. And I think Peter and the team are as well. So Lovely Bones is a fun movie. But some people really like Prince of Persia.
Yeah,
I've had so many people come up to me and say that they love that movie.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? Well, here's another one you did that I was trying to find and I can't find it. I can't
Oh,
watch it here.
Platform 7.
Your portrayal of the autistic doctor in Platform 7 was spot on and very different from what we've seen on the Ark and the Outpost, or the Outpost. What did you do to prepare for that role?
Well, that was a lot of fun. Dr. Richard Shale, he's on the spectrum, and I started to research Asperger's and autism, and so it was so illuminating to learn about the thought process of what goes on. I mean, I remember seeing this interview with a guy who was in college, and someone asked him to explain to them what it was like, and he said, well, I was in college in a class and I put my hand on my cheek and I felt that I hadn't shaved. So I reached into my bag and I got my electric razor, because of course he had his electric razor in his bag, and I started to shave. And then I noticed people were looking at me funny, and I was thinking, why are they looking at me funny? And then his brain goes, well, what am I doing that's different? And then I'm shaving. Shaving is something you do in the bathroom. People don't usually see what you do in the bathroom. Therefore, it must be shaving that is the reason why people are looking at me funny. Therefore, I should put my razor away. And that was like, that was like a firework going off in my head. It's like, okay, that tells me everything I need to know about Richard Shale. Is that the route he takes to get to where he needs to on an emotional level is completely different to what you or I might. And from that, it was kind of liberating, because I was almost kind of intimidated by that part at first, because I didn't want to do it a disservice and I didn't want to misrepresent a certain community either. But it soon became clear that there was no acting required, because the foundations of acting is the nuances of emotional acting and reacting. And in this context, you weren't obliged to react at all if you didn't want to. Because certain people with Asperger's get distracted by the feeling of their own clothing, or by a ticking clock that's in the background or something like that. So at any moment, it would be perfectly justifiable for Richard to get distracted by something. So the onus wasn't on me to time the scene, or as long as I wasn't tripping anybody up, And suddenly I just felt like the shackles were off, because I could just do anything pretty much. As long as it was true to Richard, I could kind of get away with anything. And that was a lot of fun, because he's the red herring, really. That was the function of his character. But he was actually a really kind-hearted guy who had this, who had Asperger's. And I think, for the autistic community, I think, I'm not professing to be a professional on it at all, but I've learned a little bit playing that role. I think that would be quite kind of hopefully useful in some way as well, for people to understand, because, the audience are led into a trap of thinking that he might be the killer, basically. And through misunderstanding his social cues and not acting like the rest of us act, you assume that he is the killer. But it's because he's not the same as the rest of us, or most of us. So that was a lot of fun to play, and I learned a lot. I was very humbled by playing that role.
Cool. We're coming up to the hour mark, and that is sadly all the time we're going to have with Reece. So I want Marcia to give one last question, and Jack to give one last question as soon as I throw up Nathan's last one. If you had a chance to play another character on the show, who would it be? And I'm saying it can't be Ian, because you're already doing that. On other streams, it's been noted as if you did a body swap with the character. We've asked.
Yeah, I would have said before Ian. I would have said Bryce, probably, because we have all these complicated long scenes, and then Bryce turns around and goes, "Wait, what do you mean?" You know, and he says his line at the end, and he gets the quip at the end of the scene. And that's annoying because he gets to sit there in his chair and then say the funny line at the end of the scene after we've done like 3 pages. Sometimes I'm not saying Richard doesn't work, but often I envy that. I was like, come on, man, like that's got to be the best, you know. I would have said Bryce, but now Ian kind of gets to do that a little bit. So would it be Alicia or would it be? I think William Trust would be quite fun.
I was going to say William Trust. Yeah,
William Trust would be quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could kind of interpret that any way you wanted, really.
Oh yeah,
You know,
and depend what mood he's in.
yeah,
the sneaky guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
William Trust.
Okay, Marcia, go, and then
Yeah.
Jack's going to ask the big question of the evening.
Well, as you probably might guess, a lot of fans are still reeling emotionally from the loss of Lane. And how might you help fans to get through that possible anger and feeling and remember Lane?
Yeah, we saved the best for last.
You got me, Marsha. You were saving the sucker punch for the end. I don't know if I'm over Lane yet, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you know, it's weird. There is a sense of loss there when you bring a character to life and then you got to kill him. You know,
you know, that actually helps us because you're with us. It feels like we're together, and that feels good.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely like I said, when I went back to my dressing room after he was gone, and like you just see Lieutenant Spencer Lane on the wall. It's like, oh man, you know. And also, I think, like, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think that Christy and Richard both have said this anyway on record. Is like, when I first came in as Ian, they were kind of, because they're Team Lane, they were kind of a bit sort of, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about this new character, you know. And then I don't know if it's a compliment or not, but then a few weeks later they're like, yeah, Lane can go, we like Ian. Like,
hold up, maybe you did too good a job.
I didn't know whether to be pleased or offended because I was on both sides of the fence, you know. But yeah, it's one of those. So I think the cast, I think, have gotten used to Ian now, but he's gone, unfortunately. I hadn't. I was going to ruin something in episode 10 for you as well.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. No.
You have to come back. See.
Yeah, no, we want.
Lane's gone. Lane's dead.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for the closure. Yet the new character that we have come to love. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Marsha. I appreciate that.
We'll have to invite Ian on next time, right?
Yeah.
He's probably drinking somewhere in the pub.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Reading his book.
All right. So the
Okay.
question I have is, we've been asking our wonderful guests that we've had so far. That is if Lane or Ian or even Reece had an
Or both.
opportunity, or all of them had an opportunity to have an arc on their own. Like Lane wanted in first season. He wanted the arc on his own. What number on that arc, or what symbol, or what item of whatever you want, would Lane, Ian, or Reece like on the arc?
Can I use a copyrighted trademark?
Sure.
I feel like the McDonald's M would be quite funny.
That's
Bingo.
That's an Ian answer. That's an Ian answer.
Well, that's better than
Love it.
Intimidate.
Oh,
I mean,
that's-
just imagine, right? Just play this scene in your head. Sharon, Ian, and Bryce are stood on the observation deck. Okay, they go through like warp, faster than light, or whatever we call it on the show, and they come out of this warp tunnel, and then the sirens blare, comms comes through, and Ava Markovich is like, we've seen there's a ship, we don't know who it is, and then it just pans, and there's just a big McDonald's ship at the window.
Awesome.
And you can just see Bryce say, "Well, I am kind of hungry, I would like a hamburger." Or something. And Garner's like, "Fine, we'll stop for McDonald's. Alicia, you want a Happy Meal?" Do you know what I mean?
So it'd be
Like,
instead of a year.
I would be the drive-through.
Oh, the
The
attendant.
drive. Yeah, you have to get on your
Oh,
shuttle.
it's that big. That
You have to
big
get on your
McDonald's.
shuttle, and you come through.
Oh,
and I say,
shuttle.
"Hello, America, can I take your order, please?" You know.
So instead of the EF Federation, it'd be the Big Mac Federation, and then,
Oh,
and then of
that's
course,
nice.
and then the entire crew would ask for a milkshake, and the machine's
Yeah.
broken.
Yeah, the machine's broken, and
Yeah.
I'll send McFlurries out of the airlock for people.
I got to tell you, Reece,
Awesome.
that has been the best answer we've got.
That's fantastic.
That is amazing. So I'll be creating, because every time somebody mentions that, I have a way to kind of put that on
He
the
creates an arc with
All
the
right,
picture.
enjoy.
I'll be sure to send it to Michael so he can send it to you, so that you can have that immortalized in your email.
Oh,
or
nice
wherever.
one. That'll be the Mook space travel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Planet McDonald's. I like
Just
that.
make sure you don't get me in any trouble with Ronald McDonald or anything.
The big M.
The big
Ronald
M.
may come over there.
Don't print any T-shirts or anything. Whatever you do.
No. Thank you for playing.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for dropping by, Michael.
No, if Michael can stop laughing.
I know.
Well, let me tell you about the fan groups. We do want to mention our fan groups.
Yes.
We have the ARC series fan group, which is the group that I created. We also have the ARC fan group, and we have the Outpost and the ARC fan group. So the fandom is growing by leaps and bounds, and we are just so pleased to have you with us. Thank you.
I want to thank the three of you for for your dogged kind of involvement with promoting our show, and also the work that you do around this show. I think you guys have done a great job, and watched your previous interviews, and we really appreciate it. We really appreciate it.
Oh no,
Thank
you've
you very
seen the
much.
previous ones, so we're in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we can get you some coupons for McDonald's or something. We'll get a sponsorship from them or something, and then we can throw.
They do the best coffee. I mean, I'm not sponsored by McDonald's.
You're
but
not. My mom lives with that coffee.
They do the best coffee.
Yeah, they do.
He has to go out sometimes at midnight to get
Yeah,
coffee from McDonald's.
for mom from McDonald's, because she is addicted to McDonald's.
There you
coffee,
go.
So there you go.
Well,
Marie,
if she's ever in space, she knows where to come.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just pass by your ship, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that is
thank you
hysterical.
so much, sir.
Yeah, it's been an absolute
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Reece, for coming with us. If you'd ever like to come back on again, I hope you will. We're actually going to be trying to do what we did last season, have a bunch of the actors on at the same time, and hopefully you'd like to join us for that. I'll send your agent an invite and tell you when it is, and if you can do it, great. If you can't, we totally understand.
Cross your fingers for a season 3. If there's a season 3, I'll be there.
Oh, well, Jag has already talked about season 3. I've talked about season 4 and 5 by mistake. So, and then
And
Marcia
Marcia-
said just before
I'm
we
doing
went-
6 seasons and a movie.
Yeah, so we're working on that.
Alrighty.
At
No,
least
it's been
one.
a pleasure, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Kelly.
Have a
Thank you,
great day.
everyone else in the chat room and everywhere else for coming. We will see you again tomorrow for the writer of episode whatever we're talking about.
9.
Episode 9. Thank you. It's right in
Cycle of
front of me.
violence.
And he will be on James DeLorean, and we are looking forward to talking to him about his reason for writing certain things in this episode. And I think this was actually one of this first solo
This is his first
episode
solo.
he's written. So
Yes.
he's excited to be on with us. So we're excited to have him. So everyone else, take care. ARC lives, and we know that. So take care. Season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.